Saturday, February 26, 2022. I was doing some calling around at drug testing facilities. One of the major ones I called around and talked to speak about the Right to Try Act for certain people on whether or not they were complying with the law on Donald Trump's signature having to do with CBD as well as industrial cannabis consumption. And I spoke to one of the doctors on the phone about their policies and when they actually do drug testing and what they actually do with the samples and whether or not they actually know about the Right to Try Act. The individual, he's a physician actually, who handles the samples out of Utah. He got very impatient with me about it, but I wanted to ask him if his tests were a strip test or whether they do blood samples, urine samples, hair samples, all of that. And they actually do primarily urine tests for drug testing, which is very common. But moving forward, I asked him if they could actually tell the difference between CBD and marijuana. And the truth was out of this individual's mouth that no, they can't. I asked him if they were aware of the Right to Try Act. Now, the premise of this conversation took probably, I want to say less than 10 minutes. It was probably 5 to 7 minutes. But my main course of this conversation had to do with whether or not they realized there is no difference in industrial cannabis as well as marijuana. This doctor actually got very impatient with me considering that he couldn't answer these questions. So I asked him again what kind of strip tests they take, what kind of ways do they actually measure these things in people. And he wouldn't answer, he refused to answer. So since CBD can be bought in a store, at a smoke shop, or in a gas station, it's industrialized cannabis. Industrialized cannabis. So that's on a federal level, having to do with Donald Trump pretty much handling all the issues with cannabis and marijuana. Some people will argue it's not on a federal level, but that is on a federal level. I made a video having to do with the legalities of it and things of that nature. Put in a lot of other information. And I did some other callings around to other facilities, and they have the same issue with recognizing the law these days and the law of compliance. See, they're doing drug tests on people, and their tests can't even tell the difference between CBD and marijuana and cannabis. And again, I actually spoke to this man again when he was actually getting very irate on the phone. He wanted to argue with me, but I was keeping my calm, keeping my cool, and trying to ask him plain and simple questions. Do your tests actually test for cannabis? And are you aware that industrial cannabis is actually legal? He did not want to hear anything about it. He actually hung up the phone. So I called back a few days later and spoke with them about the same subjects. I got on the phone with another doctor. He really didn't have the same idea of what I was talking about. It was completely foreign to him. I asked him if he's ever heard of the Right to Try Act. He said no. I asked him, is he aware of all the complications in different states with legalization of cannabis and marijuana and things of that nature? Now, I'm not trying to be biased about this, but I am trying to make a point here. There are tests going on right now that can't even tell the difference between Delta 9 and Delta 8 variants. Now, Delta 9 is considerably different on a chemical scale, and the United States government is actually allowing these things to be bought, purchased, and they are taxed as well. So I thought I'd throw that out there. Industrialized cannabis is being sold in stores, taxed, and bought by United States citizens. Yet a lot of these tests are making people pop positive for marijuana. My point is, no fucking shit. It's industrialized cannabis. Fucktard.